Dana here. Welcome to Sew Learn Create. I'm so glad you joined us today. And if you like our content, be sure you click that subscribe button. Also, check out the Patreon page and the Etsy shop in the links below. For today's project, we're going to be making a luggage tag holder. And it's great for your backpack, briefcase, or your suitcase. So, let's get started. For today's project, the luggage tag holder, you'll need the following supplies. You'll need 2 pieces of fabric for your body, and I'm doing mine in 2 different fabrics, and they are 3.5 inches wide by 5 inches long. And then for your strap, you'll need a piece that is 2 inches wide by 12 inches long. And then you'll also need some vinyl to use to cover the front of your luggage tag. And I'm using vinyl that I bought by the yard at the craft supply store, but you can also use a vinyl tablecloth if you can find a clear one. And you just need a little piece of that. So to start, and then you'll need some basic sewing supplies. We're going to take our strap and we're going to fold it in half, pretty side to pretty side, and we're going to clip it all the way down. And when we go to the machine, we're going to stitch down this side that we are clipping. So we've clipped all the way down, or hot dog style, and what I call it, and we're going to stitch from here to here, leaving both ends open. So let's go to the machine. Now we're going to stitch down the side of our strap that we've clipped. So our fold is on this side and we're stitching our 2 raw edges together. And I'm going to use the inside edge of my foot as my guide, so it'll make a narrow seam allowance. And remember, we're leaving both ends open. So we're just going to stitch all the way down. So now we've stitched down that side, we'll go back to the mat and turn it right side out. Now we've stitched down and we need to turn this tube right side out. And one of the easiest ways is to use a safety pin. You just need to make sure your safety pin is narrow enough to go down your tube, and this one is rather skinny. So you open your safety pin and you just pin one side of your fabric. So I've just pinned the front side so it's loose on the back. Then you take your safety pin, poke it inside your tube, and do what I call the inchworm. So your safety pin is here, and you're just going to inch it up and then pull it out the back, and it will start turning right side out. You just want to make sure that if you do this, especially if you have a long tube, is you pull it out the back end as you go, because otherwise you'll wind up with a big wadded up mess and it's really hard to turn at that point. So just kind of inch it up and then pull, making sure it's, getting straight here at this end. Then when you get down here to the other end and you grab your safety pin, and then just pull gently to turn it right side out. Then we're going to take our tube, our strap, and we're going to roll it a little bit, and if you just kind of roll it, that seam will lay flat. And we want that seam to go down the back center of our strap so that when we put it on our luggage tag, the seam is inside and you don't see that seam. And then of course you want to press it or iron it. And you want it to iron flat on the sides because that's where you're going to top stitch. And the flatter your fabric is when you top stitch, the better it'll turn out. It just looks a little nicer. And then I like to flip mine over and press it from the front. So when we go back to the machine, we're going to top stitch down both sides of this strap just to reinforce it. So let's go to the machine. Now we're going to top stitch down both sides of our strap. And when you top stitch, I like to use the inside edge of my foot because that makes a very narrow seam. So start with my needle down, and I'm going to go all the way to the end. When I get to the bottom, I'm going to put my needle down, lift my presser foot, turn, go across the bottom, and then go back up the other side. Again, lift my needle down, turn, making sure that I line up that inside edge of my foot and go right back up the other side. And our strap is done. So now we're going to fold our strap in half, and I'm going to lay it right there. Then I'm going to take one of my body pieces and I'm going to fold it in half lengthwise, or hot dog style as I like to call it, and I'm going to pinch right here at the top. And all I'm doing is finding the center of that piece of fabric. And when I open it up, it's probably hard to see on the camera, but I can see the fold line right there. And I'm going to take my strap ends, make sure they're even, and I'm going to place them right on that center mark and clip it. And then I'm going to base this to this body piece just to hold it in place before we put our body pieces together. Again, because I'm basting, I want a narrow seam allowance, so I'm going to use the inside edge of my foot. And I'm going to back stitch it, go forward and then back stitch just a little bit to secure that strap well. And then back stitch here at this end. Now we're ready to put the body of our luggage tag holder together. So I'm going to fold this strap up. Actually, I'm going to kind of tuck it underneath because it seems to stay in place a little better. I just want to make sure that the strap is away from the edges. Then I'm going to take my second body piece and put it face down, or right side to right side. And I'm going to clip it. I'm going to start by clipping here at the top, and then I want to leave an opening on one of the long sides. So I'm going to use my red and green clip, and that reminds me to leave that opening. And then I'm just going to put a clip on each side just to secure it, so it doesn't shift on me when I stitch. Actually, I got these backwards. There we go. So green is where I'm going to start stitching, go all the way around and stop at my red. But this time, I'm going to use the full width of my machine foot as my seam allowance. And that gives me a wide enough stitch so that when I come to the top where the strap is, that basting stitch will not show up. Start with my needle down and go all the way around. Putting my needle down, stopping at that corner, turning my fabric, making sure I lined it up nice and straight. And then I'm going to put my finger here to remind me to stop when I get to the red clip. And back stitch. Now we'll go back to the mat and turn it right side out. Now we've stitched all the way around, and what I like to do is I like to flip my project over and just double check and make sure that I caught all my pieces of fabric. So before we turn this right side out, we're going to reduce the bulk in our corner here. So I'm going to just cut on the diagonal just a little bit of that fabric away. And I'm going to do that on all 4 corners. And that just makes your project, when you turn it right side out, it makes your corners nice and crisp and they look a little nicer. Then I'm going to find my opening and turn it right side out. And you do have that strap inside there, so just be sure you turn gently so you don't pull any stitches loose or anything. Then I'm going to use my chopstick and I'm going to go in and I'm going to push out my corners. And I'm going to do that gently so that I don't poke a hole, because if I poke a hole, then I've got to turn it wrong side out again and fix that hole. And then I take my chopstick and I run it down my seams so that those seams will lay a little flatter on the inside, so that when I press this, it'll lay really nice. Then I'm going to iron it so that it lays nicely. I just want to make sure that this, where I left my opening, that fabric turns in so that when I top stitch, it closes up that opening really nice. And then of course you want to iron your fabric so it's nice and flat. Now to put your vinyl on, we're going to top stitch all the way around this the body, but we're going to place our vinyl, and I cut my vinyl 3 inches by 4 inches. So it's pretty close to the size of my body of my fabric, and if there's a little left, we can just trim that up. But it is a little short right here, and that's so you can insert your card from the top. But when we top stitch, we're going to go across this edge right here, leaving our vinyl opening, but it will finish this body nicely. So when you sew vinyl, your metal, if you have a metal foot on your machine, it will tend to stick to this vinyl. So I'm going to use a piece of wax paper, just regular wax paper from your kitchen, as to help it glide a little bit better. So I'm just going to put that on there, just kind of run my finger, and I can kind of see what size I need to cut it, because I need to be able to clip that vinyl and the wax paper on the edge of my project so that I can have my seam allowance nice. So make sure my vinyl stays in place. I'm going to put the wax paper on top, and then I'm just going to clip the wax paper and the vinyl in place. There we go. And when you use wax paper, you can see through it, because you need to be able to see the edge of your body of your luggage tag so that you can make sure you're stitching in the right place. So when we go to the machine, we're going to start on the side where we left our opening. We're going to stitch all the way around and across this top. So let's go to the machine. Now we're going to stitch all the way around, and our opening is right here where this yellow clip is, and my vinyl is underneath the wax paper. So I'm going to start just before that opening, and again I want to use the inside edge of my foot, and I can see through my wax paper to the body of my project. I'm going to put my needle down, and we're going to go all the way around. When I get to the top here, I just want to make sure I go above the vinyl, and I don't know if you can see it, but my vinyl is right here, and my needle is above that. Go to the corner, put your needle down, lift and turn, making sure that I line that back up really nicely before I stitch. Then when I come back to this, I'm going to cross the stitching and back stitch a little bit to secure it nicely. And I'm going to clip my threads. And then if you take your wax paper and you just pull it gently, the stitching has kind of perforated it. So then when you get one side loose, you can usually get the body of it and then just pull it and it peels right up. And it makes it much easier to stitch because that vinyl will stick to that foot, the machine foot, especially if it's metal, and it makes it really hard to stitch. Then if your vinyl is just slightly on the outside edge of your the body of your tag, then you can take your scissors, and I put mine up underneath and then just cut very carefully so it's the same size as the body, just making sure I'm not cutting my fabric. So just go slowly and trim that up. Then to attach your luggage tag to your bag, you put your loop through the handle and take your luggage tag, slip it through and pull it. And now it's nice and secure. And we're done. I hope you liked today's project, the luggage tag holder. So, see you in the next one.